Hello, 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 and welcome back to another incredible Unstoppable Teacher webinar. I am so excited to be joining you today. My name is 𝘁𝗵𝘁. I'm the community manager at 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 and Book Creator. And I am really excited about today's show because it contains teachers. It contains community members who have volunteered their time to come and share with the rest of our community how they are transforming their classroom. So I want to set the stage really quickly. There's a very real shared reality among everyone right now around AI and the encroachment of AI into every part of our lives. And it's taking place in the classroom especially. And it is very top of mind, I know, for many teachers that I speak with. How should we be using this? We need to be using this. Why should we be using this? And those are all questions that we're going to dig into today. But I want to reiterate something that's really important. These teachers are going to share stories about how the technology wasn't driving the lesson. Okay, the technology was enhancing the lesson, transforming the lesson, and turning it into something that it couldn't be without the technology. And right now, that technology is AI. So I'm going to give you a moment to just ponder that. But I also want to encourage you all to use our chat feature, all right? It doesn't really matter what platform you're on. We're able to see those messages come through. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Michael. Great to have you here. Use that feature to communicate with today's guests because, as you can see, we are actually able to put your comments right up on screen. And so we're able to bring your voice right into this webinar. And I think that's really important because your voice is just as important as our voices here as well. Everyone in this community has a wealth of shared experience, and we want to hear from you too. So without further ado, I welcome you to introduce yourself in the chat, and I am going to welcome onto the stage our guests today, as well as Julian from 𝘁𝗵𝗁, who's going to do a quick introduction before we get started. And to that end, hey, Jen, good to have you. Hi, Rachel. Good to see you. Thanks, Julian, for being with us. Before we get started, I want to let the audience know I am going to jump out of this one. I want to make sure there's plenty of real estate for the voices that are going to be on this call so that their pictures get a little bit bigger. So I'm going to be back towards the end, but for now, enjoy the show. All right, Julian, take it away, man.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Thank you so much. Yes, if you were here for our first two webinars on how to, responsibly and effectively use AI, you got a chance to see these tools from my angle. But I really wanted for this third one to bring some experts into the room. And that's why we have the wonderful Rachel Medrano and 𝘁𝗵𝗁 with us. I'll start with Rachel. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us what your role is before you dive into what you're going to talk about, and then we'll give a chance for Jen as well.
Sure. I'm Dr. Rachel Medrano. My fancy title, as I say, is the Assistant Director of Academic Services for Robstown ISD. So I'm a teacher of teachers. So I get to work with all of our teachers, plus work with our students in our district.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jen?
I'm 𝘁𝗵𝗁. I am the Education Technology Integrationist at a pre-K through 6th grade school in northern Vermont.
Awesome. Awesome. We have a range of experience, and we are so happy to have these advocates here that are really, boots on the ground, really experiencing the 𝘁𝗵𝗁 magic firsthand. And so I can't wait to hear their perspective on this. If David, you could share my screen for just a moment here, I definitely want to just put us in the proper lens so that we get a little bit of context, right? Again, if you aren't too familiar with 𝘁𝗵𝗁, if you're coming from Book Creator and now we're all in one big family, you need to learn a little bit about 𝘁𝗵𝗁. We are this digital interface that you can bring your materials into and not just be an environment where students can complete their work, but actually have some tools at their disposal that will help them understand the questions that are being asked of them, understand the material that they're actually engaging with, giving them various ways that they can show their understanding using our tools. And so we do have 3 trusted products that we are so proud to have under our belt here. 𝘁𝗵𝗁, which you'll see today, 𝘁𝗵𝗁 Companion, which gives you accessibility across the internet, and then of course Book Creator, that wonderfully built platform that gives students that that tool to be creative and show their expression in various tools. And so without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Rachel. She is going to talk about the Understand menu and how she approaches showing this tool to her teachers. And so we can switch to her screen, and Rachel, take it away.
Thank you so much. So it's one of those things that little backstory in our district is 𝘁𝗵𝗁 has been part of our district landscape since 2020. We fell in love with one of the ways we fell in love with it was because of this understand menu and the power of AI and what we can do with these various tools that take learning just a little bit, what makes learning more accessible is how I'll say it. It allows kids to be able to translate, to use the dictionary, to do a bunch of tools all within one platform, but they're also doing it at their individual areas. Oh my goodness, Sherry Hayes. So sorry, saw someone in chat. Know her very, very well. So yes, it's one of those things that we truly do love this understand tool. So I have an example of a 3rd grade reading passage. And the understand tool, the very first thing is you can actually choose a dictionary. And this is a testing option that we do have. So it's even an accommodation that's available. And so if I were to just highlight that lovely word bump, it does take a second because of course it has to use the power of the lovely AI and the internet, but it's going to tell me if you can see it. I'll try to zoom in. Oh, it got away from me. There it goes. But it tells me it's a noun. It gives me 3 different options. I can even play it so that I can hear it out loud. And I could translate it to Spanish also. I live in, no definition available. But it's one of those that we do have a high Hispanic population in South Texas. So having that option is truly, truly powerful. So dictionary was one of those first tools I did showcase to my teachers. And the great thing is it's for all subjects. I was a math teacher when I was a teacher, and we have a bunch of academic vocabulary that is not used on a regular basis unless you're in a math class. And of course, you always get that question, when am I ever going to use this outside of this classroom? You smile and you say, you'll use it eventually. But that dictionary tool is very, very powerful. The next one that they've recently come out with is the translate tool. The translate tool is a game changer. And so if I want to highlight, we're going to see how fast this does it. But I grabbed a section of translate, and you could actually choose which Spanish you also translate it to, because as you know, there are different types of Spanish. It will translate for you, and it did the translation. I chose Spanish. But it will also read it out loud to you. You can actually add a comment. You can copy this and put it somewhere else if you want to. All of this, again, is in the same tool. And it's just making learning, again, more accessible. I have everything read fast. I'm sorry. I tend to do stuff faster. But yeah, so the translate tool, this is truly a game changer. This came out. It's one of the newer tools that 𝘁𝗵𝗁 has made available. But it's all there. And it has, again, there's the Mexico Spanish, but it has a ton of languages that kids are able to translate, again, at their fingertips. They can do it all within just one spot. And my teachers love it because I got a quote from one of my math teachers. Essentially, what the Understand tool has done is it allows the students that are even in our honors levels class get assistance when they don't have necessarily an inclusion teacher assigned to them, or they don't have an inclusion because they don't need that services, but they still need the help. They still need that support. It's all there. Again, it's making learning accessible. The next one is, again, I love this. I can do 𝘁𝗵𝗁 all day. I went too far, I think. Nope, it's not wanting to do it right now. What if I just do a sentence? Nope. Oh, it was starting to think maybe. We'll see. I'll leave it alone for a second. There it goes. But summarize, essentially, you should be able to highlight a bigger paragraph and actually will summarize for you. And that is in beta form. So it is being tested. But again, it's a great tool. There's 2 more tools, but I don't want to use, of course, all the time because Jen is going to show even more. But I'm going to see if I can do this one.
And Rachel, I love what you said about, taking the understand menu and having that available to any and all students, right? because we often look at some of these tools like Translate or Explain or even Read Aloud as being quote unquote support tools. But we're so happy that everybody gets access to this, because not only does it remove stigma from any of those students that, have that documented need for those supports, because it's there for everybody. But even if you don't have that documented need, like you said, you have access to these supports. I love using Read Aloud for myself and documents that I'm reading. I find myself using the Explain tool on things all the time. And so it's not just for students that need supports, it's for everybody in the classroom. So
yes, and it's the biggest thing, Julian, is it's the accessibility. It's all there. It's all available at their fingertips.
Yeah.
And there is no stigma attached to, oh, I need help, but I'm afraid to ask. They don't have to worry about it. They do it on their device and they do it at their pace. So the Adjust tool is one that I highlighted a paragraph. I can actually make it to where it's per se easier on a lower grade level. I can also bump it up based on, again, the kids understanding their comprehension. So that Adjust tool is also built in. So instead of Adam opened his eyes and pulled the covers up to his chin, oh geez, Adam's eyelids fluttered open and he meticulously drew the bedclothes upward.
You can really crank it up, can't you? In terms
correct. That's not a third grade level reading. Right. I don't. But yeah. But so again,
it is nice to know that we can, when we do have those students that need to be pushed, they need more rigorous, content. We can create different versions of readings to serve those kids as well. It doesn't have to just be in that lens of let me bring the level down for some students. Sometimes we got to push some students. No, that's great. And you know what, one thing I was going to ask you, and you're hearing from your staff on how these tools are going. And so maybe you have some insight on this, but how would you say that the Understand menu can bring more confidence to these students based on their access to these tools?
They just feel more confident with their content, whatever subject they're in, because again, they're able to do what they need to do to be able to take their learning to the next level, or just to even learn from the particular lesson, or to be able to recap what the teacher has said or recently said. And so they absolutely love it. And our top users in our district with 𝘁𝗵𝗁 is our math team. Yeah. And they use it a lot. And it's our junior high math team that have been our top users in the entire district. And so it's been fun to see that, because some people think 𝘁𝗵𝗁 automatically just reading, right? The read out loud, as you mentioned. No. Yeah. It's our math team too. And our essentially math tests are essentially a reading test at this point. But the read aloud is also a game changer, because it allows you to also just change stuff. You can change the speed. You can change the voice. You can, and I did warn teachers, I said, guys, let them change it. Let them change the voice. Let them change the speed. Give them that agency to make those decisions, because it helps them. Because the way I learn is way different than the way that Jen learns and the way that Julian learns. We all learn differently, and we need to be given that chance to do it. And 𝘁𝗵𝗁 essentially has done that for our district.
Well, I love that. I love that. And I couldn't have said it better myself, giving students that agency to say, hey, this is the learning environment that's working for me. Why wouldn't we want to do that for them, so that they can, achieve as much as possible for where they're at? That's awesome. And hopefully we see more and more adoption. Like you said, you can use the Explain tool on math problems the same way you can use them on a paragraph reading, and it's not going to give them the answer, but it is going to try and activate that prior knowledge and push them in the right direction. And so I encourage any of you out there that think that these tools are a niche lane that they fit in. They're very, very universal. So try them on your content, try them on your grade level, and I guarantee you will find some utility there. Rachel, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I totally value your insight there. And I think everybody definitely got a sense of how it's been used in your school site. So I appreciate that very much. Jen, let's switch over to Questions AI. We're going to start looking at assessment. We did go over this in the second session, and it's the perfect
combination.
Right? So you can piggyback right off of where Rachel left off there.
And I literally am going to piggyback, because what Rachel was saying about making sure these tools are available, I am in the middle of state testing right now, as I'm sure some other people are, or they're gearing up for it. And one of the rules of thumb is if a student doesn't use the tool in their everyday classroom, they shouldn't have it as an accommodation on their test. 𝘁𝗵𝗁 helps you provide those tools for your students in their everyday classroom so you can justify using it on those tests. So this
Absolutely.
is where I'm like, okay, if you want to pull my screen up. And as you were saying, Rachel, I am using math. I actually picked a math test.
Perfect.
So with the questions AI, what I have done is I have already uploaded one of the practice packets for our state test. And these are the ones that, you know, teachers can use however they want. It's readily available. And I used the questions tab. This is where, let me actually go to that tab on here. Move this over, which is that wonderful little Q down towards the bottom. So I clicked on that tab and then it brought up a bunch of different options. I used the convert this PDF option. So it took the PDF I already had. I had already done the split and merge and taken out the answer portion of it, the teacher answer key. We don't want to give kids that. And use this. So this is what it came up with. So you can see this is the original PDF and the questions are here on the side. So one of the beautiful things about this is just double checking that everything is accurate, and then you can make it look like the actual test on the student facing page. So question 1, you always want to make sure that you're double checking the answers that 𝘁𝗵𝗁 has picked for you. So question 1 is absolutely correct. Question 2 is not. Question 2, it's looking for just a plain number. So I'm going to get to that in just a second. So I'm going to look at question 1, and then when I click on it, it opens up more options. I want this to be multiple choice. There's only one answer, one choice, so it's going to be 1 point. You can change that. I want to display it on the page, and you can see it popped up here. But I don't want the whole thing to be displayed. I just want to show the answer option. So now you can see that it's literally just the multiple choice options. And I'm just going to drag it and cover up what was already there.
I love that so much. I love that so much because it's the same experience that the students would have had if they were doing this on paper, right?
Exactly.
It's just in that digital format.
Exactly. So it's literally, and you'll see with the next one how it's going to be the same thing. So if you wanted, you could randomize it, give a hint, but I'm skipping that part. Question number 2, it actually just wants the number 2. So I'm going to delete all these options and I'm just going to put a number 2 in. No, where did it go?
If you click back in there, if you click in the middle of the question, you should be able to edit it again.
Question is, oh, it's understand. Oh, it moved up here.
Oh,
you got to make sure you're on the arrow. 2. That's it. That's the only answer. So again, I want to display it on the page. Answer field only. And then I'm going to drag it over and fit it within the box that's already there. So just like on the state tests, they're going to be filling it in the text box. And then I'm just going to keep going. So I wrote down my answers here. These 2 are correct, but because it's a 2-part question, I want to give the kids 2 points, 1 for each correct answer. And again, just the display on the page, show the answer option, and there it is. So you can keep doing this the whole way through. And I really do, if I can actually move it, I really do just love the fact that if you look on paper, it still looks like it's multiple choice. But as we all know, on an actual standardized test online, if there's more than one answer, it shows a box, not a circle. So it matches the format of the tests. I'm just going to scroll down because I don't want to take up too much time to the last question. It is 2 parts, and this is where it is the short answer. So 𝘁𝗵𝗁 question AI will look for those keywords. So I actually have, I closed out the tab. So you can look through and you can put the keywords that you want up there. This is out of a rubric with 4 total points, 2 for each part. So I want to display it I want to answer field only, but I also want partial matches. So that way, if the kids' words don't match exactly what the test is looking for, they still get partial credit. And then again, just drag that box down. So this is just one of the amazing ways that you can do this. And then to top it all off, when you share this as an assignment, you can choose the specific tools that you want students to use, like, where's the math equations? The equations. So if a student has to write their math equation out, just like on the state test, they can choose those symbols to help them actually write it out. So they can insert the multiplication. The division sign is like the hardest thing to ever find out there in terms of trying to put that on a test. So those symbols are all there so that students can use them.
No, I think this is so awesome, you know, and no, go ahead. I want to let you finish.
The beauty of this is you get the student preview. You can see it like the students will when they see it. So clicking on those binoculars, and this is what it looks like on the student end. So the students can keep the sidebar open, but they can also close it because their answers are expected to be here on the actual test itself. So they would, got to be on that arrow. So they would click and type. And then because you have the answer choices in Kami already, it'll self-grade for you. So when you go to class view and you see all of your students' tests at the same time, you can go through, and if you disagree, like you think that they should have gotten more points for their short answer, you can adjust those points afterwards, but Kami does most of that heavy lifting for you. You just, again, as with all AI, need to double check your answer, double check the work before you share it.
No, yeah, that is awesome. And as you saw in the student preview, that experience is just like it would have been if they would have been using the marker tool, except now we're getting not only a ton of benefit from the student, because like you said, they're able to get those check boxes when it's a more than one answer, which reflects on the state testing. But what are your thoughts on how the Questions AI tool can actually help teachers with teacher burnout and that kind of thing? In terms of, I mean, you're in that role, so you would have firsthand experience in this. How has Questions AI saved you a little bit of mental capacity when it comes to grading and things like that?
So I'm going to quote one of my teachers. At first, it seems like it's a whole lot, and it feels like learning to use this tool, it takes a lot. But once you learn it, it lifts such a weight off because it does all that heavy lifting for you. It provides students with the accommodations they need, and it removes those learning barriers that students come across by having all the different tools like text to speech, read aloud, speech to text, voice typing, and the self-grading piece takes out all that busy work of you lugging huge amounts of papers home and going through each one, because you literally can scan across the first page for all of your students and make sure that the first page is done correctly, scroll down a little bit and go back the other way for page 2. Right, so it just streamlines and it cuts out so much extra time. So the teachers that I have shared this with have fallen in love with it. They camify everything.
Hey, I love that. I think it is an incredible environment to do some of these things. And you know, I know we don't have a full class worth of demo accounts here to show, but for those of you that are going to go out there and try this, and Jen, you've seen this as well, is that you can get class-wide data, as you know, where if you can look at a specific question that you know your class is really struggling with, that can inform your reteaching and how we go from test prep to, you know, improving before we actually get to test day, right?
That's the other piece that I didn't even connect with the question AI is the insights that Kami has now within assignments. It's huge.
Absolutely.
Huge.
And now
the misconceptions.
Yes, and imagining this assessment experience for the students, not only having the great, you know, things about Questions AI, but even touching on what Rachel showed. If I'm a student and I'm in an assessment and I have access to the understand menu to just give me some clarity on what's expected of me in this question, or getting this read aloud to me, right? Or, you know, re-leveling the question so that I can approach it at my reading level, you know, so much more likely that you're going to get the results that are a true indication of the student's skills and knowledge, right? When they have these supports. And so Rachel and Jen, I love what you brought to the table. I think that having your guys' specific insights was definitely valuable for our viewers today. And so hopefully what we're going to see after today's session is people going in and going to their LMS and making 𝘁𝗵𝗂 assignments so that they can get class view, and so their students can get access to these understand tools. Because like you said, it might be a little bit of hey, here's a new process I have to learn, but the benefit that you get once you get familiar with that, I think is going to be tenfold in terms of the effort you had to put in to learn it. So I thank you both so much for your insights today.
Thank you for including us.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have teachers joining us, sharing what we see happening out in the world. So it's just an honor and a pleasure to have you here. We know that you've sacrificed time out of your day to share that with us. And Julian said it so eloquently that it's so important to have you here. I want to remind everyone that today's secret code is down at the bottom if you're looking for that certificate. And if you saw something today that you liked, that you had questions about, maybe you want to ask panelists a question, but you're not confident about putting it in the chat or anything, shoot us an email. If you already have a contact at Book Creator, reach out to them. Let them know what your question is. Let them know what your curiosity is. If you don't have a contact, well, now you do, because you know me and you know Julian. You can shoot us an email at community@𝘁𝗵𝗂.com. And I just put that over in the chat. But again, it's community@𝘁𝗵𝗂.com. All your questions are welcome. We love to have those come in, especially after a webinar like this. That tends to raise a lot of excitement and might even raise a few questions for folks wanting to know, how is this going to work for me in my classroom? So again, ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy days to be here. Julian did a wonderful job. And until next time, we're so excited. We're going to be back next week talking with some Edu Protocol community members and sharing some very exclusive, brand new Edu Protocol templates. More to come on that. But if you haven't seen that, you can head over to 𝘁𝗵𝗂.com/webinars to check out a little bit more about that webinar. Register to sign up. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.